Today we're going to talk about a game called Arco. Welcome back, everyone. My name is Krosh, and I'm your host of the KujoPrime show, where we celebrate and elevate indie games and game developers. Today, as I said, we're going to be talking about a game called Arco, developed by an illustrious group of indie developers, which I'd like to make sure, and forgive me if I mispronounce any of these, but the developers are Frantic, Max Cahill, Bibiki, and Fayer, and this game was published by Panic Incorporated. And I just kind of want to get into this game. I don't want to waste any time. There's a lot to talk about with different aspects of what makes this game so special. Arco's premise is best put, it's kind of like the frontier, North America, the Western kind of setting, but with a lot of fantasy fiction involved. There's spirits, there's some fantasy elements of creatures and magic at play. So that's kind of like the setting and backdrop, and what it goes on over the course of the game is you follow several different protagonists, all kind of relating to this group of mercenaries that you're going after, or you're constantly being antagonized by. Does everything from destroying their villages, pillaging, trying to use the land for their own needs and wants, and it's something familiar to American history back in that time period of the Western era. But with its own kind of very personal, dramatic story that I think really resonates with what it's covering. And I don't want to shy away from this. This game is a bit more on the mature side. It does cover heavy subject matter. I would liken it to the subject matter you would see in a game like a Red Dead Redemption or Red Dead Redemption 2 or Last of Us. It's just, you look at a game, I think, visually and be kind of letting your guard down, thinking, oh, this is, more retro looking, more pixelated. But don't be fooled. This is going into heavy stuff like if you see families losing loved ones, you see people losing everything they've raised, cultures getting wiped out. It's rough stuff. So I want to put that disclaimer out there, in that the content isn't necessarily like something you would play with your kids, so to speak. But for those that it is appropriate to play, I would highly recommend you check this out, because of the contents. The way it handles those stories is something that I think it's impressive. Like I said, it catches you off guard with the tonal expectations you have from a retro game. But for me, when I was going through that, many times I was just like, wow, they let us seem kind of sit almost like I said, it blends in with this Red Dead Redemption vibe, but also it blends in what I think of when I think of like the Coen brothers. I think of scenes that just are allowed to breathe. You have moments with your character, you have moments where you have to make choices, and they really weigh on you, like the weight of like a small thing, like, oh, do you want to help this family? How do you help them? Do you exact revenge on their behalf, or do you just get the things that they need and just make sure that they're whole? Like someone may have stolen all their goods, they have nothing left to their name. You go out on and this is a side quest, for instance. Let me get the example I provided. You go out and exact revenge, and you find the mercenaries that have stolen all their stuff. You could make a choice there, and that's one of the things that I think weighs on this so well, is those choices impact not only how you're helping these or how you're involved in this society, in this game space, but also the type of character you see progressively evolving and changing. As you make these choices, you see your character have certain tendencies, and you kind of just see the picture that you're putting out, and it just grabs me even more, which I applauded for. And to go with the decision making, the way that the gameplay works is very refreshing as well. It's like I said, it looks more on the retro pixelated side, but the combat is very turn-based but real-time. And let me explain that. You'll be entering different skirmishes. It'll be, let's say, your character and a series of, let's say, snakes, gunslingers, and spirits. And everything freezes in the moment, and you're allowed to make a decision on the trajectory you'd like to make your character take a path or take an action, or a combination of the two. And you can see the intent of the enemies as well, what they're about to do or what they're planning to do. So for instance, an enemy may just be moving, whereas another one is showing the intent to try to make an attack. that information then allows you as the player to decide and plan what your action should be. Do you stay put and try to also attack and you'll both trade damage? Or do you try to dash at a faster rate of which their attack could be and get out of the way of the movement so that on the next turn you could then now have a window to attack as they are maybe cooling down off of their shot or something, or need to reload or something. And it expands and gets more complex as you go. At the very beginning of the game, it's very straightforward. It's kind of just like dodge, attack, and move around. But as you go further and you unlock more abilities, the opportunities and the possibilities just grow exponentially. You could have an arrow get lobbed where it'll land in 3 turns later in an area. So you plan your move to move in that space to get them to all follow you, and then dash out, and as your arrow's lobbing down, it hits all the enemies and not you. So you can plan your turns out, and it gets even crazier beyond that. Like, that's just like a taste of what the potential is, which is enticing to me because I very much enjoy tactics, and I think this is a style of tactics in real time that gets blended that I haven't seen done too often, and done too often well. And I very much thought that was worth just the gameplay alone. Like, if the story doesn't grab you, I feel like these combat encounters really grab you. And I almost started making my decisions based on how many times I wanted to get into combat. There are many times where you can make a choice to steer away from combat, go a more peaceful route, but I found my inclinations kind of driving me to want to, because I was so interested in the way that combat worked moment to moment. Earlier on in the game, I was much more driven to want to do that. Not because of any bloodthirst or just rage that I wanted to get out of my system, but more so because of how well the system is. So I think that's something to be careful of. If you really care about the direction of the story, be careful how much you might enjoy the combat. And it's this blend of the combat with the narrative that I think really makes for it to be such a special experience. You see so often these very independent narrative-driven games with a really strong, meaningful story, and many times you see like, oh, it's largely a story. Why does this need to be a game? And I think the team behind Arco really gives you that reason. This needed to be a game because of the way that it blends that just the marriage of the two works so well together that it makes sense. And I guess, for lack of a better term, or I want you to experience it for yourself, is probably the best way to understand what I'm trying to say. But the way that the narrative works so well with the combat, and the combat works so well with the narrative, and the choices you're making in each encounter and then with each decision, and as the game evolves and as the way you build your characters out, you do get skill points, and you do level up each skill. So you could level up your abilities to be more evasive. You could level up your abilities to be more combative. All of this, I think, like I said, goes so well with emphasizing which direction that you want to take your characters and how you want the story of Arco to kind of come up to a culmination. And it's a great story. Like, I very much enjoyed it. I don't want to say too much to it because I think there's a lot to be experienced and for your own eyes. And it's out now, I should say. It is on all platforms. I played it primarily on my Steam Deck, on PC, on Steam, but you can play it on Switch, and you can play it on other stuff as well. So I implore you to check it out. This is my impressions of it, and I just want to share what a great job that team did, and what I thought of it, my impressions of it. I think it's something you shouldn't miss out on in 2024. So please check out Arco. Let me know what you think. I'd love to hear your thoughts. If you found it as compelling as I did, if you found the story grabbing you as much, or what really drew to you, what kind of decisions did you make? I'd love to hear. Let me know if you give it a shot. And until next time, we'll catch you later. Thank you.